We are working on your homework for Target 6 through 8 from Unit 2. So Target 6 and 7, we're actually going to pair together on this homework. So the graphing part is Target 6. And then whenever we write the information like the domain, range, x, and y intercepts, that's Target 7. And then Target 8 will be on the back. So from our equation, we need to know three things: slope, h, and v. So the slope sits in front of your absolute value bracket, so it's -4. H is inside, but remember you have to switch the sign, so it's -3. V would be behind, and since there's nothing there, we assume it to be a 0. So our vertex is at h comma v, which is -3, 0. From here, I'm going to use the slope, which is down 4 over 1. Make sure your V shape is opening downwards. And remember, you take that slope in both directions to create that V. All right, domain. How far to the left and right is this graph going to go? And anytime you have a V shape, it's going to keep going to the left and right. And this one, it doesn't look like it's going very far to the left or right, but it is slightly. The range, look at your vertex. It's at the y value of 0, and it's everything below that. So y is less than or equal to 0. X-intercept, the vertex is the x-intercept, so at -3, 0. And then in this case, I actually haven't plotted the y-intercept, but I could calculate where it's going to be, because if I take this point here and I go down 4 over 1 more, that would be on the y-axis, and that would be at the y value of 12, -12. All right, so using that graph to help me find the information. On number 2, slope would be 1 because there's nothing out in front, so we assume it to be a 1. H would be 0 because there's nothing inside the absolute value brackets, and V is 2. So in this case, the vertex is at 0, 2. With a slope of 1, so it's opening upwards. Make sure you take that in both directions. And then we have domain. So remember, think about how far left or right this graph is going to go. These arrows tell you it's going to go forever to the left and right, so we have all real numbers. The range, this graph goes upwards with the lowest point being at 2 on the y-axis. So it's going to be y is greater than or equal to 2, greater than because it's opening up. There are no x-intercepts. It will never cross the x-axis. The y-intercept is actually the vertex at 0, 2. Number 3, the slope is 1/2. H, don't forget to switch the sign, is +2. V is +3. So our vertex is at 2, 3. We have a slope of 1/2, so I'm going to go over 1, up 1 over 2 in both directions. And then create that V shape. And as you're creating that, as you're looking at those arrows, think about domain. How far to the left and right is this graph going? Forever. No surprises here. Range. Look at your lowest y value. This lowest y value of the vertex is at 3, and it goes above 3, so y is greater than or equal to 3. X-intercepts, none. It doesn't cross the x-axis. The y-intercept, we can look at our graph and see it's at 0, 4. The last one on the front side, so number 4, the slope is -1. That's what the negative means out in front. H, flip the sign so it's -3. V is -2. So -3, -2 with a slope of -1. Make sure it's going downhill. It's opening down. The domain, it's going to go forever to the left and right. Range, the very highest y value is -2, and it goes below that, so it's less than or equal to -2. No x-intercepts, but there is a y-intercept we can see on the graph at 0, -5. Flip over your worksheet to practice for target 8, which is writing the equation. So again, remember that your equation that you're dealing with here is y equals m times the absolute value of x minus h plus v. So we have to know 3 things in order to do these problems: the slope, the h, and the v. And in order to find that information, I like to start with the vertex. And so the vertex here is at the point 4, 0, which means h is 4, v is 0. Looking at the slope, I can see it's positive because it's opening up, and it looks like a slope of 1. So our equation is going to be y equals, and you could put a 1 there, but you don't have to. We assume it to be there. Minus 4. I flipped the sign of h, and I could put a plus 0 if I wanted to, but I don't have to. On our next one, these aren't numbered. M, H, V, starting with the vertex. So the vertex is at the point -4, -7, which means h is -4, v is -7. Again, I was looking at the graph. I think that's a slope of 1. Opens upwards, goes up 1 over 1. So our equation would be y equals, you could put a 1, but you don't have to, the absolute value of x plus 4, I switch the sign, minus 7. I can tell right away this next one has a negative slope because it's opening downhill. So I'm going to keep that in mind when I'm looking for information. Starting with the vertex is at -2, 8. So h is -2, v is 8, and then the slope here looks like it's -3. Yeah, I think that sounds good. So we have y equals -3 times the absolute value of x plus 2, switching the sign, plus 8. And then our last problem on the homework here, looking where that vertex is. The vertex is at 2, -6. So this would be 2, this is -6. And then let's check out what the slope is. Is that the right slope? I think so. I'm looking for those pretty points. So it's positive because it's opening upwards, and I think we're going up 2 over 3. So that slope would be 2/3. So y equals m, which is 2/3, times the absolute value of x minus 2, switching the sign, minus 6. And that's your homework for target 6 through 8.